My name is Laurent Fischer. I am the CEO of Adverum Biotechnologies. First, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting us to the Cell and Gene meeting on the Mesa, and thank you for listening in today's virtual presentation. Adverum is on a mission to establish ocular gene therapy as a one-time treatment that preserves patient vision for life. I will be making forward-looking statements during this presentation, so please read carefully this disclosure. Imagine if we could preserve vision for life. With our lead program, ADVM-022, Adverum aims to commercialize a potential one-and-done intravitreal treatment that delivers long-term VEGF inhibition to maintain vision. This novel gene therapy is designed to deliver continuous delivery of aflibercept in a single intravitreal injection. We are evaluating ADVM-022 in the two largest ocular indications: wet AMD, for which we have received Fast Track designation and have already shown long-term durability response beyond 15 months in the OPTIC study, and diabetic macular edema, where we initiated the Infinity phase 2 study. We have a proprietary AAV7M8 vector optimized for IVT delivery, and we're scaling up our manufacturing process from 200 to 1,000 liter bioreactor, and we're planning to build our own GMP manufacturing facility to support the future launch of ADVM-022. We plan to initiate pivotal trials in wet AMD mid-2021 after meeting with regulators, and with nearly $455 million raised, we're well capitalized to support these programs. This is our pipeline with our two programs in the large ocular indications, wet AMD and DME. We also have a number of undisclosed preclinical programs that leverage our capsid and vector expertise and platform. Wet AMD is a retinal disease that affects people as they age. It is the leading cause of visual disability in the industrialized world and the third leading cause globally. Most of you are aware that the undertreatment of wet AMD patients in the real world leads to suboptimal visual outcomes. There are multiple approaches to delivering long-term efficacy, and today we will focus on a single in-office intravitreal injection of gene therapy to reduce the treatment burden associated with anti-VEGF therapy today. ADVM-022 is a gene therapy vector that was designed for continuous delivery of aflibercept following a single intravitreal injection. This is in contrast to other approaches to gene therapy that require a surgical approach with vitrectomy and subretinal injection. The intravitreal injection of ADVM-7M8 results in a robust cellular transduction and protein expression in the eye. 7M8 was specifically developed using directed evolution, which enabled IVT delivery and a broad transduction in retinal cells and an increase in protein expression. On the picture on the right, which is a flat mount of the retina from an NHP that received an IVT injection of AAV7M8 GFP, you can see transduction of a broad range of cells. We have shown in this experiment of a laser-induced CNV or choroidal neovascularization conducted 13 months after a single injection of 022 compared to aflibercept administered at the time of the laser-induced lesion, that ADVM-022 is functionally active and as potent as aflibercept in this experiment. We've also shown that in NHPs, ADVM-022 continuously expresses aflibercept in these post-mitotic cells within the therapeutic range out to 30 months. Let's talk about ADVM-022 for the treatment of wet AMD. Wet AMD affects 1.2 million people in the US and 3 million people globally, and is approximately an $11 billion market today. The current standard of care is a lifelong regimen of monthly to bi-monthly anti-VEGF injection, which is a significant treatment burden to preserve the vision of this elderly patient population. The opportunity with ADVM-022 is the potential to have a single one-and-done IVT injection as an outpatient visit is truly transformative. This is the design of the OPTIC phase 1 study, which was designed to assess the safety and efficacy of a single injection of 022 following aflibercept. The first cohort of 6 patients received 6 times 10 to the 11th copies and an oral steroid prophylaxis. The second cohort of 6 patients was dosed down at 2 times 10 to the 11, also with oral steroid prophylaxis. Cohort 3 and 4, with 9 patients each, replicated the low dose followed by high dose, but this time with a topical steroid prophylaxis. A rescue treatment was mandated if patients either had a drop of more than 10 letters on BCVA from baseline or an increase in CST greater than 75 micron from baseline. Also, they would be rescued if they had the presence of vision-threatening hemorrhage due to AMD. As you can see from the baseline characteristic from these patients, these are very experienced patients who required frequent VEGF injections. They had been approximately 3.5 years since the time of their diagnosis and received on average 25 to 32 injections, but as you can see in one case, up to 109 injections in one patient. They had a reasonable vision of 20/50 Snellen equivalent and a CST of about 370 to 473. The treatment goal for this population is actually to maintain their vision with anti-VEGF and preserve vision loss. Here are the 4 cohorts. Cohort 1, high dose, 6 to 10 to 11th, with oral steroid prophylaxis, was followed with a median of 72 weeks. We've seen no discontinuations. Some visits were missed due to COVID-19 concerns. And in this cohort, there were no rescue injections. Cohort number 2, the low dose, 2 times 10 to 11th, with also oral prophylaxis with steroids, was followed for a median of 52 weeks. We've seen no discontinuation in this cohort. Cohort 3, the low dose, also 2 times 10 to 11, but this time with an eye drop 6-week course of prophylaxis, was followed for a median of 36 weeks. And we've seen some visits missed due to COVID-19 concerns. Cohort 4 is the most recent cohort. This is the cutoff date as of July 23rd. And they received 6 times 10 to 11th with eye drop prophylaxis of 6 weeks. And the median follow-up in this cohort is 4 weeks. We've seen no discontinuation. As you can see from this graph, these patients receive frequent injections of bevacizumab, aflibercept, and ranibizumab prior to treatments, some patients receiving all 3. In cohort 1, you can see that there was no rescue injections out to 84 weeks for our second patient in this cohort. The first patients refused to come back due to COVID concerns, but we know that this patient is doing well and is stable. He had an at-home visit after the cutoff, and we know he's been treated for his other eye in a local practice. But as you can see in this cohort, no requirements for rescue. The second cohort, which is out to 52 weeks, we've seen 2 patients with early rescues and 1 patient who required 1 top-off injection and none since. The third cohort also had 1 patient that required rescue injections and 1 patient that required a top-off. We are not presenting data from the 4th cohort, which is only being followed for 4 weeks today. The safety summary across all cohorts through July 23rd shows that there were no ADVM-022 related non-ocular adverse events. When observed, inflammation has been responsive to and manageable with steroid eye drops. There's no clinical or fluorescent evidence of posterior inflammation. We've seen no vasculitis, no retinitis, no choroiditis, no vascular occlusion or endophthalmitis. All ADVM-022 related ocular AEs were mild to moderate. 1 AE of special interest, a moderate recurrent uveitis deemed to be related to ADVM-022, was responsive to steroid eye drops in cohort 1. We've had 1 unrelated ocular SAE of retinal detachment that was surgically repaired and resolved in cohort 1. 2 patients had mild AEs of intraocular pressure elevation that resolved. You can see from cohort 1 that all patients maintained their vision with stable BCVAs and CSTs over time. We see the same pattern in cohort 2 with stable BCVA and CST over time. Cohort 3, which had slightly less treatment experienced patients, so a slight improvement in BCVA and an improvement in CST over time. And as I mentioned earlier, it's premature to present the data on vision and CST from cohort 4. What we noticed in the high-dose cohort and the combined low-dose cohort is a very substantial reduction in the annualized anti-VEGF injection frequency following ADVM-022. You can see at the high dose that on average, people had 9.6 injections in the year, annualized injections in the year prior to entering the study. There was 0 injection or 100% reduction in the year following. On the low dose, cohort 2 and 3, they had on average 10 annualized VEGF injections, and after treatment, 1.3 or an 87% reduction, both very substantial. ADVM-022 demonstrated in this cohort further potential to greatly reduce the treatment burden wet AMD. ADVM-022 continues to show robust treatment response with mean BCVA was maintained and mean CST maintained to improved. The long-term durability beyond 15 months from a single IVT injection with 0 rescue injections in cohort 1. We've seen a further evidence of dose response within the high dose, all patients being rescue injection free, and low dose 10 out of 15 being rescue injection free. We've seen a substantial reduction in the annualized anti-VEGF injection frequency following ADVM-022 with a high dose 100% reduction, at the low dose 87% reduction. And ADVM-022 continues to be well tolerated with a favorable safety profile in all 4 cohorts, 30 patients, with all related ocular adverse events being mild to moderate, and ocular inflammation when observed being responsive to steroid eye drops. As a result, we're advancing ADVM-022 into pivotal trial mid-2021. Now let's focus on ADVM-022 for diabetic macular edema, or DME. DME is the leading cause of blindness in adults in the US and around the world. Real-world outcome in this patient population, which often has several comorbidities and is younger than wet AMD patient, is actually worse than in clinical trials and in wet AMD. Patients often will need long-term anti-VEGF injections to maintain their vision. And here again, the value of potential one-and-done non-surgical IVT injection with ADVM-022 is very clear. The objective of the Infinity Phase 2 trial is to show in a head-to-head sham study the safety and efficacy of ADVM-022 compared to aflibercept. The study is designed to show the superiority of ADVM-022 compared to aflibercept as measured by time to worsening of DME activity. The study will enroll 33 patients in a 1-to-1 ratio, evaluating the same 2 doses of ADVM-022, 6 and 2 times 10 to the 11th, with steroid eye drop prophylaxis compared to aflibercept 2 milligram. We are actively enrolling in the study, and we plan to present the 24 weeks primary endpoint in the second half of 2021. Adverum has industry-leading capabilities, and notably, we have deep expertise in manufacturing process. We use a highly scalable SF9 baculovirus production system. We have a state-of-the-art facility with process development, assay development, and GMP quality control and product release. We are in the process of selecting a site to build our own GMP production to support the large indications that we're pursuing. We're also partnering with leading CMOs for GMP production using our own developed process. The team has met a number of milestones this year. We'll continue to present data from OPTIC by year-end on all 4 cohorts, and we plan to initiate a pivotal trial in wet AMD mid-2021 after meeting with regulators later this year or very early next year. We also plan to present data from Infinity in the second half of 2021. We have a very talented team, including expert anti-VEGF drug developers led by Aaron Osborne, and a gene therapy manufacturing star, Angela Thadinka, who joined us from Avexis. Thank you again for listening in. I look forward to keeping you appraised of our progress and hope everyone is staying safe during this pandemic. Thank you.